A couple weeks ago, Disneyland released information about the renewals of their Magic Key annual pass. In this video, I wanted to share with you why I chose not to renew mine, even though I've had Disneyland annual passes for many years, and I like the Disney park so much that I've literally gone hundreds of times. But before I share with you the 5 or so main reasons why I chose not to renew, I wanted to quickly go over the changes that Disney made to the Magic Keys and share with you my thoughts about them. Even though the prices of all the Magic Keys have gone up, there are some new benefits. All of them will have the ability to buy Genie Plus for 20% off, and the 2 highest tiers of Magic Key will now come with Digital Photo Pass. I actually value Photo Pass and really appreciated having it on my annual pass through Max Pass. Additionally, I actually bought Annual Photo Pass when it was offered with the Hong Kong Disneyland Magic Access Annual Pass. The Enchant Key, which is the one that I bought, and the lower tier Imagine Key will now get a 25% off discount for the Toy Story parking lot. I usually don't park a car because I stay in hotels that are close enough to the parks, but there was one day this past year where I went with some local friends who would have appreciated a parking discount. Even though I do see a lot of these changes as positive, the problem is they don't address any of the main issues that I have with the Magic Keys, starting with the reservation system. I find the reservation system very frustrating and a huge waste of time. Even though I've generally had success getting reservations when people cancel, this is after a lot of refreshing the page and wasted time. It's especially difficult when I have to coordinate with friends. I've even had to leave the park to meet up with a friend who has a Magic Key when there weren't reservations available for that day. I've also had friends tell me that they couldn't go into Disneyland with me because their limited reservations were already tied up on future trips with family and other people. There was also a day where I was hanging out with people in the Grand Californian and had booked theme park reservations thinking that we might go see the fireworks and possibly go on some rides. Well, we were having such a good time at my friend's room in the Grand Californian that we didn't end up doing that. The problem is that there's a penalty for not showing up, so I ended up cutting the time short just to go into California Adventure and walk right back out. Not only did that waste my time, but then I'm left feeling guilty that perhaps somebody couldn't get into the parks because we had tied up theme park reservations. I know there are some people who like to defend Disney's use of a reservation system, but I want to say that I find Hong Kong Disneyland's implementation of reservations to be far more workable. The only day where I actually had to go back to refresh the page to get a reservation was the day that the Castle of Magical Dreams had its opening ceremony. And actually, that was partly my fault because I forgot to make reservations and then I had a friend remind me later when the reservations ran out. In contrast, for Disneyland in California, due to the limited number of reservations and the comparatively long reservation window, I'm constantly searching and refreshing the page to get reservations for my next trip. In early 2019, I never would have imagined there would be a day where I would try to convince my friends and family to not go to Disneyland with me. But I've been doing that this past year. I simply didn't have enough reservations to commit to trips with different groups of people, and we would have different types of tickets and Magic Keys, so our reservation calendars wouldn't line up and there would be different availability for different types of tickets and Magic Keys. The sad thing is that Hong Kong Disneyland already solved this problem back in 2020 before Disneyland in California even reopened. Using my Platinum Pass, I could make reservations which included multiple guests, and then I was able to bring in my friend who had a Silver Pass. Even though she technically could have gotten her own reservations, this just saved everybody time. The next issue I have with the parks is the excessive maintenance problems. Lately, ride breakdowns have become way too common. On many occasions, I'm in a park before it opens, but then the first ride I want to go on is not able to open with the rest of the park. On one occasion, I was first in line for Space Mountain, then I watched as the entire ride shut down and they had to physically push the ride vehicles away. The next day, I was second in line at Splash Mountain when the ride broke down, and after waiting for a long time, I just ended up leaving the line and going to do something else. I have many more examples of this from this past year, but this doesn't even include all the times I didn't even get in line for a ride because it was already broken down. Wasted time is one thing, but it's even more frustrating when I fly all the way down to Southern California to go to Disneyland thinking I would be able to do a few specific things, and by the end of my trip, I'm not even able to accomplish those because they were closed. In just the past year, we've had news about boats sinking in Walt Disney World, It's a Small World getting flooded, and smoke coming out of a car at Radiator Springs Racers. I don't remember seeing this many maintenance issues before the parks closed down in 2020. And it's not just rides. Shows are canceled very often, and even when they do run, a lot of times effects will be missing. Something that exacerbates the previous two issues are the new park hopping restrictions. Instead of being able to switch parks whenever, it's restricted till after 1 p.m. Well, when a bunch of rides in one park go down in the morning, I'm sometimes left feeling trapped because I can't go over to the other park and experience the rides that are working. Additionally, you often have to make reservations before even the show schedules and operating hours are made available. Then, Disney will announce that California Adventure closes earlier than expected due to a private event. When this happens, if you want to switch your starting park based on this new information, then you'll have to suffer through refreshing the page all over again to get a reservation. The next thing that sometimes leads to a worse in-park experience is the over-reliance on the cell phone app. In addition to having to constantly worry about my phone overheating or running out of battery, I've also experienced glitches in the app. One friend of a friend actually couldn't get into the park one day because her app would not load her Magic Key. She ended up getting a no-show penalty because of that. I actually experienced a similar glitch several times while trying to get into the park and when using my discount in stores. But I was smart enough to have saved a screenshot of my Magic Key to my phone, and they allowed me to use that to get into the park. Another situation that a lack of physical annual pass cards causes is that sometimes in restaurants, cast members will take your phone to the back where they'll scan it to give you your Magic Key discount. The problem with this is that it makes me uncomfortable in terms of privacy, and I'm left sitting there while waiting and I don't have my phone to entertain me. I've also had issues with the virtual queue for World of Color. There was one day where I was trying to confirm my party in the app, but then it was constantly giving me an error. Needless to say, that day I wasn't able to get this issue resolved before the virtual queue ran out. Printing physical Magic Key cards and just having the paper virtual queue, like they did when Rise of the Resistance first opened up, would have solved these issues, but it seems like Disney cares more about cost cutting than guest experience. This leads me to how I feel Disney treats their customers. For this part, I'm not talking about cast members in the park, many of whom have helped me have a really good in-park experience. What I'm talking about are the systems that Disney had put in place which lead to a bad customer experience. Other than the ones that I've already mentioned, one other thing I want to highlight is that Disney advertised that if you buy a Magic Key within the first couple of months, then they would send you a welcome box. Well, I never received my box, and trying to get information on it was a frustrating experience. I went to City Hall in Disneyland, the Chamber of Commerce in California Adventure, spent nearly an hour on hold on the phone, and even tried messaging them in the app. Nobody could tell me if my box was actually sent out, only that they refused to send a new one if mine was never received. Given that there's no tracking number, I can never know if there was fraud, embezzlement, or if it was just lost in the mail or something else. Even though Disney did do some special things for Magic Keys, such as photo opportunities and little freebies, I don't feel like that really made up for all the times that I was disappointed. Some people who pay attention to Disney news even interpret some comments that Disney made in a recent earnings call to imply that they find Magic Key holders unfavorable. There's also other things that bother me, like taking away free fast passes to put in the paid Genie Plus, and the fact that Disney seems to care more about politics right now than making good movies. But this video isn't meant to just be all my complaints about Disney. When I started this YouTube channel, I wanted to use my knowledge and experience to help people plan their vacations. And I still have a lot of photos, videos, and knowledge about Disneyland which I want to share. For example, if even after hearing my experience with Disneyland you still want to go, you can save money on your theme park tickets by buying them from Undercover Tourist, which I have an affiliate link for in the description below. As for me, I'm actually saving a lot of money because I'm no longer regularly buying limited edition pins and going into the parks to eat their seasonal foods. I bought a SeaWorld Platinum Pass, and even though I feel like Disney parks do a lot of things better, I feel like I'm far less likely to be disappointed at SeaWorld. Additionally, the SeaWorld Pass that I got cost less than half of what I paid for my Enchant Key, but I get so many more benefits. If you are planning a theme park vacation, I do hope that you have a good time. But if you had a disappointing experience at Disneyland, also know that you're not alone.